There are 4 ducks that you see here, and I'm interested in this one. The one which is not following the trend is the one I'm interested. And my message to all of you is that look for that duck. Don't curb the tendency to deviate, to be a dissenter, to be someone who stands apart. Children tend to create a group think very fast. And yet, there are kids who would like to stand apart. My first suggestion to all the teachers and other friends here is that can we somehow save the spirit of the dissenting duck so that creative ideas don't fall through the cracks because they don't have majority support. It is very easy for an idea to be dismissed because the group doesn't want it. But there's one kid who wants it. Actually listen to him or her and see whether that kid deserves attention. Authenticity is extremely important. Many times we pick up the problems which may not really be affecting anybody. Today because of sensors, large number of ideas, thousands of ideas we get is where young children will suggest solutions. Put sensor here, put sensor there. That has become a shorthand for applying mind to finding design defects and solving them. So I would suggest that we need to help kids to sometime understand the concept of voluntary suffering. थोड़ा तकलीफ उठाओ, थोड़ा देखो तो सही जिसके साथ, जिसके काम को करना है. And try to see. This is something which is relevant for everybody, for all of us. And it's my deep assertion. The day I am not surprised, I have not lived, I have just existed. In 24 hours, there must be a moment when I say, my God, I didn't know this. And in that moment, I really learn and grow. Else, I just stay there. So it's very important that we stress, and we should track it ourselves. In our own life, we should track it, but also help children to track it as to which was that moment when they said, oh my God, I didn't know this. And that's the reason why seeking affirmation from the group, from the teacher, is a genuine need on the part of kids. And if somebody wants to have the capacity, or what I call as fortitude, fortitude is the capacity to say no when the world wants to hear yes. And this capacity is very important for helping those kids who will make breakthroughs in our country, who will make breakthrough ideas, who will be able to imagine solutions that have not been imagined. And I'll show you some examples of that. How to go beyond the obvious. A change not monitored is a change not desired. So let's say if there are 100 ideas and none of them is looking at real life problems, either of the children themselves or of the society at large, then we should ask ourselves, is it something inadequate in our briefing, in our communication, that children are not able to pick up those problems? I'll give you a small, I taught a course at IMA in a faculty lounge, Aao Chale Avishkar Kare. It is in Hindi and English, 10-session course. And I got children from government school. And if you go to see those videos, you will find that it's in real time. You will find children solving problems. So one problem I gave them was, there are 2 chairs. On one, a girl is sitting whose feet can reach the ground. On the other, a girl is sitting whose feet don't reach the ground. And I asked the kids, भाई कुछ problem है यहाँ पर, दिक्कत है? हाँ सर है, उसके पैर, उसको बोलो ऊपर पैर करके बैठ जाए. तो मैंने कहा कितनी देर बैठेगी भाई? So then the other kid said, okay, then attach a small bar below the chair and let her put her feet on that. I said, but tomorrow she will come and sit on another chair. How will I do that? I will dedicate this chair for her. This is not right. You think of some other solution. Different children would need different kinds of that. So I gave them a clue. After that, if a little kid comes around and says, sir, aisa karte hain, we can make that bar adjustable, it can go up and down. So the point is that after that, the solution came that the rod should become flexible and adjustable in real time. I'll give you another example. एक ग्लास था मेरे हाथ में शीशे का. मैंने कहा यार ये हाथ में से शीशे का ग्लास स्लिप हो रहा है, it is slipping. Redesign it. Now, after a few minutes, a kid, and these are from government school, Vastrapur, they go to the board, he goes to the board, draws a design line where the fingers are, he wanted grooves to be there. Now, for 70 years, we have been manufacturing glasses without grooves. Only recently some high-end glasses are coming where there's a flat point, isn't it? This kid, in few minutes, is able to find the flaw in the design of the glass and able to resolve it. What I'm trying to say is real-life challenges bring out fascinating and surprising solutions from the children of government school. I'm talking about children from government school where the poorest kids come. Anybody who's a little better off will go to private school. Now this demonstrates that my only thing I'm doing is I'm raising my expectation and I'm keeping patience. I'm not pushing. And this works. So my suggestion is that if we do that, we give real life challenges to our kids, you will see the enormous kind of ideas. And how do we recognize, how do we help them to map unmet need? So I gave them one idea. One day, one assignment I gave, tomorrow you will all tell me what is beautiful. सुंदरता क्या होती है बच्चों को बोला. Now I wanted them to say something which I didn't tell them. And I was saying whether it will happen or it will not happen. Next class, every week this class was going to take place. Next week, the kid comes back, some of them, and they could realize that when you solve a real problem, that's the moment which is beautiful. Beauty is not in the object. Beauty is in the spirit, in the feeling. My goodness, I wanted them to say this, but I was not sure that they will say this, but they said it. And I felt so happy that the kids could internalize this logic of what is beautiful. So we have these Shodhyatras. I'm just coming from Balia to Gazipur Shodhyatra, 49th Shodhyatra. And the 50th one will be Nagaland, second fortnight of January 2024. We have walked in every state of the country. Every state, right from Andaman to Buraj Valley and Anantnag, and you name the region, and we have been there many places more than once or twice. And in these walks, we obviously come across all kinds of landscapes, and we learn from four teachers: teacher within, teacher around, teacher among the common people, and teacher in nature. These are the four teachers we learn from, and it is so easy. They are all accessible. We don't have to pay any fees to learn from these four teachers. So there is no asymmetry among those who are well off and those who are poor, because these four teachers are accessible to all of us. We realize and we try to communicate that knowledge is expanding, feelings are constricting, and ability to convert feeling into action is even more constricting. And we tell them that, look, there is a beautiful word in every language, almost in Indian language, samvedana. Sam means equal, Vedana means pain. When you experience somebody else's pain as intensely as that person feels it, it doesn't remain that person's pain, it becomes your pain. And if you try to solve that pain through a motivation called as Swanta hai Sukhai, for my own happiness, you don't need any incentive. दुनिया में कोई आपको incentive दे ही नहीं सकता फिर, because you are motivated from within. संवेदना से सृजनशीलता through Swanta hai Sukhai, for one's own happiness. And we try to help these kids understand that if you look for external incentives, appreciation, recognition all the time, sometimes you will not get it. Sometimes you will feel unjust. Sometimes you will feel unfairly treated. And you will carry that guilt and that anguish in your heart, and you will remain hurt. But I don't want any one of you to be hurt, because that will sap your energy. So how do you remain all the time incorrigibly optimist and charged with energy? This is the secret that we share with them. So this is the Honeybee Network we started 35 years ago, and a nameless, faceless person comes in with contact with the network and gets an identity. And this process has helped us to uncover tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of creative ideas of all kinds from all over the people. And we give voice, visibility, and velocity. Now, the third point is very critical. That's where our system sometimes gets into trouble. We are able to give voice, we are able to give visibility, but when it comes to velocity, our children don't understand that our system works slowly. अभी तक क्यों नहीं हुआ? हमने किया था अप्लाई, अभी तक क्यों नहीं आया जवाब? कब होगा? You know, these kids, they have not yet learned that our systems many times are slow. So my appeal, is that for dealing with children, we should have a team that is dedicated to deliver. And even in the patent office, we should request our friend Pandit to have a special track for the kids so that they get, within 1 year, they get patent, if possible in 6 months. Because, you know, this is possible. We can pay requests for examination early, and there are processes by which we can speed up. I know some grassroots innovators who got in 1 year. In Jaipur, there was a person who got in 1 year. So it is theoretically possible, and some people have done it. But for children, we should do that so that they don't experience the sadder side of our society. I mean, yes, India is improving, great deal is improving, but there are some systems which still take time because of the way we have designed them. We don't want children to experience that. We want them to have agility. So velocity is very important. This is an example of how a Gondal kingdom, the ruler Mr. Bhagwan Singh Ji was going on one day on a road, and this is what I would like children to experience. So in the hilly areas, they will see women carrying a lot of load of grass or twigs on their head. In cities or in the outskirts, they will see women or men carrying fodder on the bicycle, huge amount of fodder or something like that. These are problems very often visible around us. Similar problem was seen by Bhagwan Singh Ji. So उन्होंने बोला, what will happen to these women when they get tired? The minister said, sir, they won't sit, they will keep walking, because if you're alone, as you know, ladies can't lift the load alone. Navi gir jati hai. Physiologically, it is not easy for women to lift load alone. You need someone else to give a hand. So he got these Bisamo built at every mile. You bend down, put your head there, put your load there, take rest, pick it again and walk. Why I'm saying this is that this capacity to understand an unmet need and convert that into solution existed in 1898, 90s. So it is not a new idea for us to know that. The sensitive, responsive rulers and managers and policymakers have done that always, but this is something that we also can do. We can also help in doing that. So how do we do that and how do we achieve? This is one. Then I'll talk about two teachers at least, but maybe 3. This is a teacher of 25,000 years. I'm coming from Bhopal, where yesterday I gave a talk and I was talking about how to become a compassionate, empathetic, and creative teacher. So there, this teacher is telling us how to make a human figure. First, you make a cross. This is the cross he has made. Then you put a line, one line, second line. Then you put lines for leg, head, hand, and your human figure is there. As if this teacher is talking to me today, 25,000 years ago. There is a lesson here on how to draw human figure. And it is openly accessible. So the idea of open design and open innovation is as important as intellectual property protected design. That's what I'm trying to say. We should also enjoy the process of opening up. For example, the design of Palki is open design. Anybody can copy it. There's no restriction. So we should have a blend of motivations for our kids to work, and some who want to work for open design, open innovations must be encouraged to do so. Some others want to have a patent and restrict it. That's also very legitimate. That should also be encouraged. But not just one way of diffusing or a channel of diffusing. Markets cannot take care of all the problems. Like we all know that. I would also suggest that we should ask our children, particularly in higher classes, to monitor their upload to download ratio. बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स यहाँ बैठे हैं, कंचा आपका अपलोड टू डाउनलोड रेशियो 1 से ज़्यादा है क्या? समझे मेरी प्रॉब्लम को क्या कह रहा हूँ मैं? We download lot of content. How much do we upload? And we should ask this question. We should monitor this question. We should track this for teachers and for children. अरे भाई आप 200 वर्ड में 100 वर्ड में अपना आइडिया तो लिख दीजिए ऊपर, शेयर तो करिए. What a problem share करिए. आपके problem, the problem that you share may be solved by a student 1,000 miles away in another school maybe. So there need not be only Local problem and local solution. There can be distant problem and local solution. We solve words problem. So I would say this is another way of learning. This teacher, 2000 years ago, asked a child to bring a glass of water. वो जाके पानी का glass लाया. He took the water, gave the glass to the child. Child went and kept it in the kitchen. Then he called him back. What did you do? Sir, you asked me for a glass of water. I brought the glass of water. You took the water. You gave the glass to me. I went and kept it. No. Tell me, what did you do? And he repeated it 2 times, 3 times. And then teacher is getting annoyed. I am asking you, what did you do? Tell me exactly. And then the brainwave comes. Yes, sir, now I know what I did. Tell me, what did you do? Sir, you asked me for a glass of water. I brought the glass of water. You took the water. You gave me the glass. While going back to the kitchen, there was a drop of water in the glass which I threw on the ground. I should have thrown it either in the bin where the children, birds take the water, or in a plant. A drop of water, consciousness about a drop of water, 2000 years ago, Buddha is teaching us. 2000 years ago. For next 1990 years, this problem is not going to come to us. Good teachers prepare our students for future, not for tomorrow. If we had listened to that teacher, we would not have had problem that we had. You know, many times when your children are traveling by train, ask them, did you notice that a lot of bottles in which people took water, there were water left in those bottles? Find a solution for that problem. The real problem. Every day, millions of gallons of water is getting wasted because people don't drink the whole bottle, but they buy the whole bottle. It's a real problem. They should solve this problem. And why am I saying kids should solve the problem? Because they are the ones who are going to live with this problem the longest. हमारी तो जिंदगी हो गई. They have to live longest. So their stake in making a society better is much higher than ours. And therefore, they must be burdened with the expectation that they will find solution. Sometimes we are very naive, and it's no harm in helping children know that I'm naive. So I was walking in a Shodhyatra in Kutch, and there was a shepherd with about 200 sheep. So I waved him. Arey bhai rukna zara. To wo ruk gaya. I said, if one of the sheep gets mixed with the herd of another shepherd, how will you find out? This shepherd was a smart one. I thought I'm a professor, so I'm very smart. Usne mere muh pe tamacha mara. He slapped me, literally. He said, what is this paper? Give me the paper. So I gave him the piece of paper which program was written of Shodhyatra, next village where we'll go. He said, to me, all the letters look alike. I was illiterate in his language because I thought all the sheep to me looked alike. To him, all the letters looked alike. He was illiterate in my language. We were both illiterate. And yet I was making fun of him. Sometimes it is useful to let kids know that a teacher can be naive, can be foolish, can make amazing mistakes. So that children's fear of sharing their own failures goes down. They have an image that teacher can do no wrong. And this is very disturbing image that we need to change. Now, many times when I go to the schools or Vidyapeeths, I ask them a question, ask me a question which I don't have the answer for. So once in Nardipur, a Mahila Gram Vidyapeeth, a women polytechnic, a girl was very smart, a school girl. She said, all right, listen to my question. On the table, there is a heap of sugar, chini, and there are pieces of jaggery. The sugar gets reddened. The jaggery gets blackened. Why? Oh my God. You know now this question is on the edge of science. Not easy question to answer unless you know what helps the ants make their way and what are they smelling. All that chemistry needs to be explained. But this girl was on the edge. She asked an extremely intelligent question, I must say. And why do we underestimate the power of kids to surprise us? Why don't we admit that, yes, मैंने उसको बोला जवाब मैं दे रहा हूँ लेकिन मुझे मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी इसके लिए और अच्छा जवाब देने के लिए. So if I don't know, I should accept that, look, I can't give you a good answer today, but maybe tomorrow I will. and I'll find out. That night one would not sleep, but the amount of learning we make in that night will be more than probably the whole year, and that's very interesting. These problems, right outside Shastri Bhavan, there is a cobbler who sits, है ना, कृषि भवन और शास्त्री भवन के बराबर पेड़ के नीचे बैठता है, ठीक है ना? अब उसके पास ये है आयरन का ट्रायंगल, ये वाला, ठीक है ना? अब ये पूछना पड़ेगा हमको उनसे कि भाई चाइना का भी है कॉबलर यहाँ पर, मंगोलिया का भी है, इंडिया का भी है, अफगानिस्तान का भी है, हुआ क्या? This was designed when shoes were made of leather and they had nails. Today shoes need adhesive or stitching. Mongolia is poorer than us, China is richer than us, they have found a solution. For our cobbler, he is still using a 100-year-old design. I think we need to take kids around, out of the class, and observe the inertia, deeply embedded civilizational inertia of our society, so that they are disturbed, they are challenged, they are provoked. They know, they will understand the physics that if you take adhesive, put it below the sole, and put a hammer, a vacuum will be created, air will rush in, and the joint will become weak, not strong. You need a clamp to hold it together. They need to observe how the joint is made so that they can understand the science, but also the idea that how can we improve so that the cobbler doesn't take so long, because he's providing service to me. My quality of life depends upon the quality of service I get from this cobbler. My quality of life cannot be better than that. And my suggestion is these don't cost anything. These are all around us. These examples that are lying here. I mean, these are all examples of inertia. Millions of women transplant paddy, back bending posture. My favorite example, the tea. All of you took tea just now, but you didn't realize that when she picks up 2 leaves and a bud and puts it in the basket behind, और वो ऐसे ऐसे आप 10 बार करेंगे ना तो आपको दर्द यहाँ होगा और यहाँ होगा. The lady does it 2,000 times to 3,000 times. उसको दर्द नहीं होता. Why don't we experience that pain when we take a cup of tea? That's the question we have to discuss in the class and help kids find a solution. And I'm sure, I'm absolutely convinced that they will find out some better way of reducing the drudgery that is there. And all the 3 are women-based examples of the rate of technological change in the thing that women do is far slower than the rate of change in the things that men do. This is something that we need to help our kids. I'll give now an example of what Chaku and I did in a course. We were both teaching this course on design, technology, and innovation, right? So one day we were discussing something about justice, gender justice or something. So suddenly a thought came to mind and we said, okay, this was during COVID, 2020 or 21. So we asked the question, who eats the cold food at your home? One student slowly said, mother. Arey baap re baap. She gave you birth, she sent you to IIT Bombay, and now she eats cold food. This is not done. So for next 1 week, Chaku said, you will all cook hot food for your mother and upload the pictures of the first bread and the last one and the kitchen and all of that. And then he invited Sanjeev Kapoor for the last class when the presentation was to take place. And of course, children were encouraged to bring their mother also into the class. Now presentation is going on. And one kid says, sir, वो जो चकला है ना जिस पे रोटी बेलते हैं, उसकी height थोड़ी ज़्यादा होनी चाहिए. It should be slightly higher because bend करना पड़ता है नीचे. अरे बाप रे, you didn't realize for all these years your mother was making this roti for you and she was bending all the time. And now that you did it for a few days, suddenly you notice the design defect. It should actually a true defect. This is a problem. That height should be higher. But did they notice it? So sometimes helping kids go through that process of voluntary suffering, if one can call it so, has no substitute. They will not realize it by just normative discourse in the class or teaching in the class. And then they will come out with a solution. And I think our society should try to make our children impatient with inertia. That's our one goal. Design will improve when I become impatient with the existing design. I notice the defect. It's very easy to be, cynicism is infectious, optimism is not. One cynical person can make 10 kids or teachers cynical, but to make another person optimist is very difficult. So this story comes to rescue. There were a lot of starfishes which the waves of the sea were throwing on the shore. Some of you must have read this story. And one person was lifting these starfishes and throwing it back into the sea. A lady was standing there. She said, "What are you doing? You can't save all of them." He picked up one and threw it back into the sea and said, "I can save this one." And I think this notion that if you can't solve all the problems, you should not solve any problem is a great deterrent to the initiative. One of the reasons why inertia comes in, बहुत बड़ी problem है, मैं सबको तो नहीं help कर सकता हूँ, तो मैं कैसे करूँगा? Maybe I should leave that problem altogether. And therefore, the pervasive problems, the persistent problems, do not get addressed as often as the small problems. Problems of a single or small community or client, they get addressed more easily. And I think we should create this feeling. And if we fail, we fail. I mean, there are so many failures that have taken place. Kintsugi is a very interesting concept where they don't mask the cracks in the vessel. On the contrary, they highlight it. If only we could all, as a teacher, do this. Highlight the defects in our thinking, in our behavior, in our conduct, it will make children so much more impressive. So these are some of the things that we see on the way in our Shodhyatras. Amazing colors. I think children should experience the innate sense of color and contrast. I was listening to that presentation when you had talked about various colors. If you show them this, they will be able to figure it out very quickly with an example of this kind, because it's a real example. Somebody has done this in their home. This is from not too far from Bhopal. We had a Shodhyatra in Madhya Pradesh where we saw that. So how do we create multiple imaginations? So how can one problem be solved by 5 different ways, by 5 different children, rather than all the 5 agreeing to solve in one way? Multiplicity of imagination and multiplicity of pathways. And the argument that, look, your way could be as legitimate as my way. Maybe you learn to fail through your way, I will learn to fail through my way. Probably together we will learn afterwards and find a proper way. But there's no proper way in the beginning. Many times, pardon me for saying this, but when we give the 3D printer is an instrument of reproducing an object exactly alike. It's an instrument of imitation. It's not an instrument of innovation, unless you design something new. We need to get rid of this notion that by reproducing a design, we are doing innovation. We're not. We are imitating. And there is no harm in saying that good imitation. After all, how do good calligraphists come up in life? They practice. So imitation by itself is not bad. We can improve our skill by repeatedly doing certain things. But we cannot call that innovation. We are calling it a skill building. Very important that. These are some small ideas. This is my favorite one because Chaku knows about this. And this is a girl, at that time she was in class 8th. She sent just 2 lines. She said, my father uses walker, and many of you must have used walker. My wife used to use walker. And the walker cannot work on steps. So she said, and just on a piece of paper she wrote 2 lines, can front leg become adjustable? Our team and I, in a workshop, we made a prototype, further improved it. And when you go down, the legs become taller. When you go up, the legs become shorter. Now, this is a universal design. In UK, in US, in Japan, such a walker doesn't exist. Nowhere in the world such a walker exists. This kid has triggered a design which now India would be able to export to all the countries in the world. That's something impactful. By a kid in Patna. Her father's total income was about 2 lakh rupees, 2.5 lakh rupees. And this license fee, when this technology was licensed to WISO, was more than that. And she gets royalty on the sale of every walker. One of the youngest entrepreneurs. So the whole process is realized. And Chaku told me last time when I came that he is now trying to see further how to improve the design and all of that. So the question is, children should know that the cycle of designing idea to convert into translation into practice, practice to product, prototype to product to license, license to market. All this has happened. And this will give tremendous boost to the ideas of the children, and they will get real life. This kid we met in Jharkhand, Mohammad Sajid Ansari, and he did something very simple. He used the concept that when you send, he saw his mother cleaning dal. Now, this is an observation every kid would have seen. Dal, chawal ko saaf karte na. This kid used a small motor and recognized that when you do the centrifugal force, the margins will have different size particles and the core will have different size particles. और उसको दोनों को अलग shoot से निकाल कर, he has done the grading machine. In fact, there's a German grading company in, I forget the name, in Bangalore. They invited him not because they were interested in the design, but they wanted to say that how come a kid is working in the same domain in which they are working, and they gave him 1 year's fees and all of that. His school also helped. Very poor family. His father on a cart goes around and does the press of the clothes and other such things. Very poor family. And here is a chair. Many of you are sitting in a posture that you may have pain in your back. I'm sorry to say that. ठीक है ना? Some of you are leaning forward, some of you are resting on one shoulder, then the both. तो वो posture गड़बड़ हो जाता है. हम कंप्यूटर पे काम करते हैं, आगे लीन कर लेते हैं ऐसे. आगे कुर्सी के एज पे आ जाते हैं कई बार ना. We are very in fast haste, काम जल्दी खत्म करना है. And don't realize that our back is not being supported. Now these kids from different parts of the country sent us an idea that if you have a pressure sensor on the back and they are not being pressed, then the screen should become blank and a message should come, sit properly, I will not let you do work. Wouldn't that, we all need that, isn't it? We all need that. और ये बनवा दो यार, कोई बना नहीं अभी तक. I told ST Electronics वालों से कहा मैंने ST गुड़गांव में, वहाँ नोएडा में, लेकिन बना नहीं पाए वो लोग. बनवा दो इसको. Now, this is a need which we have, the adults, and it is the kids who are identifying the need. That's the beauty of life. So I would like to raise my expectation from kids manifold. And I'll say that you all need to raise that. छोटे problem मत दीजिए उनको, बड़ी problem दे दीजिए. Let them tackle the problem that we have not been able to solve and we suffer from, and look at the way they'll be able to find solution, because they don't argue with themselves as much as we do. ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता, ऐसा होता तो हो ही जाता, कोई कर ही लेता. You know, we have 1,000 arguments why we won't, this thing will not happen. बच्चों के पास अभी उतना stock of argument resistance बनी नहीं है उनकी अभी तक. And I wish that they don't develop resistance, so that our society becomes little more initiative-taking society, little more creative society. There are examples of this kind, how different layers of waste heat is harnessed in Mizoram, or other places. So now this is an example I'll give you, simple idea. In Vashpati Bhavan, we used to organize Festival of Innovation, and later it became Festival of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Thankfully, from this year, it has come back to Vashpati Bhavan. In between, for 4 years, it did not happen. It started during Shri Pranab Mukherjee's time. On 11 December 2014 was his birthday when he announced it, and 2015 was the first festival. There we had children from different schools in Delhi, government schools. And we said, 2 things you cannot do. We have a cycle, you have to redesign it, not for transporting people and not for transporting goods. These 2 applications are out. Think of other applications. And they're able to think of applications: blower, a charkhi, a thresher, grass cutter. It's not very clear, but still, all these winding motor, all these ideas came in about, and Professor Yunus was that year the guest of honor, and he was looking at what these kids are doing. Within about 15 minutes, class 4, 5, 6, 7 kids came out with all possible applications of cycle without any prompt. Just the obvious was out. So as a pedagogic tool, it can do wonders. If we just take the obvious out, our kids can be much more creative, because otherwise we are all used to thinking of cycle for transportation of people and goods. वो नहीं करना है, उसकी बात नहीं सुननी है. Go beyond. Look at this. So what this kid said, Adarsh Barnwal, he said, what if there is a 4th light on traffic light? A blue light. Now this has not happened so far. It does not happen in any part of the world, in any city of India. But the problem that he was trying to solve happens everywhere, including in Mumbai. Problem is, he says, if ahead of your traffic point, there's a congestion, there's a traffic jam, blue line will indicate, now you take a left turn, right turn, U-turn, don't go ahead, otherwise you're going to get stuck for an hour. Such a practical idea. बढ़िया नहीं है? ताली बजाइए जोर से. Adarsh Barnwal is able to think of a solution that will change the traffic management system of the world. बैंगलोर में जाइए आप व्हाइट फील्ड में 1.5 घंटा लग जाता है वहां पर 1 किलोमीटर के लिए. नहीं तो मतलब क्या है कि बच्चे सोच रहे हैं इस प्रॉब्लम को, हम नहीं सोच रहे, डीसीपी ट्रैफिक नहीं सोच रहा है ना, ट्रांसपोर्ट सेक्रेटरी नहीं सोच रहा है, लेकिन वो तो सोच रहे हैं बच्चे. And that's why I put it on the cover of our newsletter, Honeybee newsletter, because it impressed me, inspired me so much. It was such a wonderful idea. Don't make feasibility the enemy of desirability. Too much of translation can curb our imagination. There must be a scope for some ideas which may not be implemented easily. This cannot be implemented easily because I need help of traffic, DCP traffic, I need municipal commissioner, I need so many approvals for it. Kahin karwa do isko. You can get it done. ठीक है ना? At least in some city, somewhere, test करवा देते हैं इसका. And we will bless that boy for changing, making our life easier. So this is, and not everybody has Google ट्रैफिक पॉइंटर, तो जिनका स्मार्टफोन है उन्हीं के पास होता है ना, जो स्कूटर पे है या जिनके पास ऑर्डिनरी फोन है उसको कहाँ मालूम पड़ता है. तो देयर आर मेनी सच आइडिया. दिस इज ए क्लास 2 किड फ्रॉम महाराष्ट्र, जलगांव, क्लास 2. क्या कर रहा है वो? विंड मिल से पंखा चला रहा है हर झोपड़ी के अंदर. नहीं है आइडिया? अच्छा सोचिए ना, बच्चा कहां से कहां पहुंच रहा है. पंखा चाहिए झोपड़ी के अंदर मुझे, भाई कैसे लाओगे तुम बताओ ना, बिजली तो है नहीं, बैटरी के पैसे नहीं है. ठीक है. What are all these ideas showing? These are showing that the kids can be tremendously creative. We have done an injustice to ourselves and to them by not raising our expectation and not letting them, there's a program that NIF does and I'm very unhappy with that program, Inspire Manak. They get 2 ideas from every school. Problem is that these ideas could come to us because nobody had to filter them. No teacher, no children could send directly to us. In our Honeybee network, we continue with it, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Ignited Mind Award, where children can write directly to us. But when ideas come through teachers and principal and district level committee, as you were mentioning, different levels of committee, well, all crazy ideas get rejected on the way. आपके पास फिल्टर होकर मोटे मोटे दाना आता है, बारीक जो आइडियाज थे वो तो निकल जाते हैं यार. कोई तो सिस्टम ऐसा डेवलप करो कि if a child want to send directly, let the kids send directly. Particularly those whose ideas have not been selected. Give them a chance. Wildcard entry they don't go. All these could not have come to us because the teacher would have said, ऐसा कभी हो सकता है? मेरे गांव स्कूल का नाम डुबाएगा तू? हैं? क्या करेंगे? क्या कहेंगे लोग? ऐसे आइडिया भेज दिए. तो वो तो छोड़ देगा उन आइडियाज को, because that teacher has not, pardon me all of you, many of you are teachers, don't mind my saying this, but the fact of the matter is that many of you have evolved in a system of constraints. हमारी सोसाइटी में ना बहुत कंस्ट्रेंट थे पहले, अभी तो बहुत लिबरल हो गया. तो उस समय आप लोगों को आदत हो गई है दिक्कतों के साथ जीने की. You have learned to live with problems indefinitely. Our kids, we don't want them to acquire this skill from us. We want them not to have any patience with inadequacy and inefficiency. So let me just close. The last example I'll give is that sometime we should ask them to imagine very far-end ideas. So I don't know how many of you know that how did the bio-toilet emerge? DRDO has a lab in Gwalior which is for biological warfare. And they sent a team to Antarctica and they found that the penguin's excreta was not visible. कहाँ गया अभी इतने सारे पेंगुइन हैं, उनका एक्सक्रीटा क्यों नहीं दिख रहा है? So they thought there must be something and they found a bacteria which degrades the excreta at a very low temperature. So our forces in Kashmir at high altitude, वो अपनी जो सबसे highest site पर है ना unit अपनी, हाँ? सियाचिन, वहाँ पर excreta decompose नहीं होता है. वहाँ से idea शुरू हुआ और then they thought they created a composition mixture of the bacteria and the bio-toilet was born which can, in trains now, in real time, decomposition takes place of the bio-waste. Because earlier, undecomposed waste was thrown on the railway line, and when the rains come, they take the E. coli, and the whole country gets infected with E. coli. हमारी वाटर बॉडीज में सब में, अब रेलवे को दोष नहीं दीजिए, उनके पास कोई सॉल्यूशन था नहीं, अब आ गया, बट कहाँ से आया? I think these stories need to be told to our children. Similarly, I went to one for a talk at our launch station in Kerala, space station. And when you have Sriharikota, and when there are two launch, one is where the rocket is brought in and from there it takes off. Second is the launch pad goes outside and from there it takes off. Now, when the rocket takes off, the temperature is around 3,000 to 4,000 degrees centigrade there. Now, naturally, the organisms that you will find around in the environment, in that environment, may be thermophilic. अब thermophilic जो हैं वो क्या कर सकते हैं? They can convert lignocellulose to hydrogen, they can recover heavy metal, they can clean the dye, textile dye pollution. All of this can be done by the thermophilic organisms. I gave you example of the cold-loving organism earlier. Now I'm giving example of the heat-loving organisms. And our children should know, because they have this much training of the physics in 10th class to 12th class. इतना तो उनको समझ में आ जाता है अभी. They need to know how can they apply those possibilities so that the standard of creativity can go farther, and we don't have to think of only mechanical solutions. Like solutions can be biotechnological, solutions can be bioengineering. There can also be processes which can generate solutions, better decomposition of bio-waste, better cleanliness and all of that. And they should understand and they can do that. On 24th July 1929, Gandhiji got tired during 20 to 29. 9 years he spent in trying to find a way of improving the design of charkha. नहीं मिला उनको solution, थक गए. Finally, he announced a competition of 7,700 pounds, which is equivalent to 1 lakh rupees at that time. Today, its value will be about 10 crore. बोला कोई भी अवार्ड देगा, कोई भी इसका रिस्पॉन्स देगा, I will give him. आपने अभी ग्रैंड चैलेंज की बात की थी. Now, this grand challenge today will be of 10 crore rupees. The problem that we have is of thousands of crore. कितना अमाउंट दे रहे हैं आप ग्रैंड चैलेंज में अवार्ड? 5 लाख, 10 लाख. नहीं भाई, 5 crore दो ना. Let the whole world be possessed by the challenge that we are facing, so that in 1 year we will get a good solution from somewhere in the world at least. गांधी जी ने बोला कोई भी अप्लाई कर सकता है इसके लिए, पूरी दुनिया से. बोले एक ही बात है सिर्फ, if you want the award money, you will have to transfer the IP right. At that time he was conscious of the IP right. बोला IP right आपको खादी प्रयोग समिति को ट्रांसफर करना पड़ेगा. And the committee of judges included C. Rajgopalachari, Mr. Banker, eminent people of our freedom struggle. उसके बाद में ये डिजाइन आया. 30-31 में वर्धा जेल में थे वो. He was using this चरखा, पेटी चरखा. He gave the boundary conditions. कितना काउंट का होना चाहिए, कितना वेट होना चाहिए, मेंटेनेंस कॉस्ट कितने % होनी चाहिए, टोटल कॉस्ट कितनी होनी चाहिए, वुमेन शुड नॉट गेट टायर्ड आफ्टर वर्किंग फॉर 8 आवर. सारी कंडीशंस उन्होंने डिफाइन की चैलेंज अवार्ड के अंदर. व्हाट ए ब्यूटीफुली डिजाइन. आई मीन दिस इज समथिंग आई थिंक एवरी स्टूडेंट ऑफ डिजाइन शुड रीड. हाउ टू डिजाइन ए क्राउड सोर्सिंग चैलेंज. इससे अच्छा मैंने कभी पढ़ा नहीं इतना सुंदर. एंड द प्रॉब्लम गॉट सॉल्व्ड. नाउ 1930 and we are in 2023, almost 100 years are going to come. We have not learned lesson from this. That when there are, and I was very happy when you mentioned, in tomato there is a very interesting practice. You can do this experiment at home. Take 4 tomatoes, 2 you keep straight, 2 you keep upside down. The one you keep upside down will mature slowly because ethylene has to move from bottom to the up against the gravity. That flow rate is much less. The shelf life of these 2 tomatoes will be longer than the one which have been kept upside down. This I learned in Bangladesh. ऑफ सीजन टोमेटो आ रहे थे. सेक्रेटरी बोला यार कैसे आ रहे हैं इस समय टोमेटो, कहाँ से आ रहे हैं, पता करो जरा. दैट्स व्हेन वी लर्नड दैट दे यूज्ड टू हैंग देम अपसाइड डाउन in the shade, and the life of the tomatoes got extended. Now, this could be one solution. There could be many more solutions, but I'm saying that we should give incentive enough to people to have multiple solutions, and we give multiple awards, some for low-scale solutions, some for higher-scale solutions, some for mega-scale solutions, some which require machinery, some require just practice. And because different kinds of users of growers of tomato need different kinds of solutions, they can't all be met by the need of by a simple solution. So let me just close by saying this, that this inertia of 90 years shouldn't continue anymore. I'm so happy to see that we are already starting the effort of overcoming this. But on the whole, I must say that it's a great opportunity. What you have done, what IIT Bombay and IDC have done is this huge, huge task of spreading the culture of creativity and design among the young minds so that the next generation of our designers, thinkers, and not just designers, every common citizen of this country. That's your attempt. Ravi, what you're doing is you're telling that this is not something only for a specialized designer to solve. Every child must have a design. You know, one of the problems, Chakku, you remember the last example? One kid said, sir, my father, when he gets up from the bed, he has to use a lot of effort. याद है आपको? हमने बोला यार थोड़ा एनालाइज करो इस प्रॉब्लम को, क्यों होता है ऐसा? ही इज योर फादर. सर समझ में नहीं आता है, थोड़ा सोचो थोड़ा. What should be the angle at which the knee should be there on the bed? If it is acute angle, he will have to make more effort to bring it to 90 degree and then get up. थोड़ा बेड को रेज कर दो, फादर को आराम मिल जाएगा. Now this is something every citizen should know, isn't it? It's not for designers to solve this problem. थोड़ा सा लेवल रेज करना है बेड का, 90 डिग्री पे फादर का नी आएगा तो उठना आसान हो जाएगा बिस्तर से. उनको रोज मेहनत नहीं करनी पड़ेगी उठने के लिए, जोर नहीं लगाना पड़ेगा बिस्तर के ऊपर, दबाना नहीं पड़ेगा हाथ को ऊपर उठने के लिए. Now these are small things that I think what your program is doing is wonderful. I'm so inspired and thank you so much for listening to me and bringing me here. Thank you, Chakra. Thank you.